The Trump administration is attempting to justify its assassination of Iran's top general, Qasem Soleimani. And since Congress did not authorize the assassination, they didn't have a vote on the assassination, you will hear various members of Trump's administration and Trump himself argue that they made this decision because Soleimani was an imminent threat to the United States and to our troops. In fact, on Twitter, Trump said, quote, "General Qasem Soleimani has killed or badly wounded thousands of Americans over an extended period of time and was plotting to kill many more, but got caught. He was directly and indirectly responsible for the death of millions of people, including the recent large number of protesters killed in Iran itself. While Iran will never be able to properly admit it, Soleimani was both hated and feared within the country. They are not nearly as saddened as the leaders will let the outside world believe. He should have been taken out many years ago." That's fascinating because a few years ago, back in 2015, Donald Trump was asked about Soleimani specifically, and he didn't seem very afraid of him. Take a look.
Are you familiar with General Soleimani?
Yes. Go ahead, give me a little, go ahead, tell me.
He runs the Quds forces.
Yes, okay, right.
Do you expect his
behavior? I think the
behavior?
Kurds, by the way, have been horribly mistreated by us.
No, not the Kurds, the Quds forces, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard's Quds forces, the bad guys.
Right.
Do you expect his behavior to change as a result?
Kurds.
No, Quds.
I'm sorry, I thought you said Kurds. Because I think the Kurds have been very poorly treated by us here. Go ahead.
Agreed.
So that is the man who just greenlit the assassination of Iran's top military general. And while it's true that he wasn't a great person, he wasn't a good guy, this is going to lead to devastating ramifications for American citizens abroad. We know that. And we're all waiting to see what Iran's reaction is gonna be. If they engage the United States militarily, this is not a good idea at all. This is gonna lead to a lot of bad consequences.
All right, we're gonna break that small clip down. That actually was a much larger interaction. I wanna tell you about some of the rest of it in a second. But first he's like, "Do you know General Soleimani?" He's like, "Yes, tell me more." Okay, so everybody knows he doesn't know him, right? And he says, "Well, you know, the Quds, he's the head of the Quds force." He said, "Oh yeah, the Kurds." And then he says, "I misheard you. But wait a minute, if you know General Soleimani, why would you think that it was the Kurds? Soleimani is head of the Quds force in Iran. So you didn't know Soleimani. Just say you didn't know him, right? No, he's got to lie about everything, right? And I misheard you. Does anybody think he really misheard him? No, of course. He has no idea what the difference between the Quds force and the Kurds are. And throughout the rest of that interaction with Hugh Hewitt, who is a conservative, he's kept saying, "These are gotcha questions."
Yep.
He asked him, "Hey, do you know Nasrallah, who's the head of Hezbollah?" Doesn't know him. Didn't know the head of Hamas, Hezbollah, or any of these groups. The leader of al-Nusra. No, he didn't know any of them. He didn't know any of them. And he's like, "These are gotcha questions." Well, it turns out if you're president, you got to know that. You're not running for plumber in chief. You were running for commander in chief. And he went on to say, "Oh no, by the time I get in office, they'll all be different anyway." No, they were all the same when you got into office. And he said, "It doesn't matter, I'll know it so well it'll make your head spin." Does it look like he knows it so well it'll make our head spin? No, he has no idea who these people are, he doesn't know. It makes a difference if your president is an idiot and is totally indifferent to reality and facts.
Because it means that he's not educated on a serious decision that he made, right? But more importantly, he hasn't sat down to think through what the consequences will be, what the aftermath will be, right? So it's not enough to just say, "We did this because it was a bad person." It's just not enough to say that because there are bad people all throughout the world, many of whom we actually work with.
Yeah, Vladimir Putin's a bad guy. Should we assassinate him? Is that a good idea? Should we assassinate his top general? Maybe start a nuclear war? And then afterwards, though, we can say, "Oh, he was a bad guy. He was a bad guy. He's a bad guy." Okay, it's easy to say. No, we shouldn't do that. It's a really stupid idea.
And one of the sad things is, I mean, we can listen to that, and as soon as he said yes, every rational person says, "Nah, he never heard of that person in his entire life." But then a couple years go by, he becomes president. He's been surrounded by top military brass this entire time. If he wanted to, if he was 1% interested, he could have found out anything he needs to know. But we reached this point where lots of people, including some like elected Democrats today, were like, I have to hope that he has a plan.
No.
Who thinks that he has a plan? What Republican thinks that he has a plan going forward? And they don't care because they're not gonna go. None of them are gonna be there. The vast majority don't know anyone who's serving. It is just reality TV. It's an interesting new season to a show they love.
I'll give you an example of what a Donald Trump plan looks like. 6 months ago, he called for an airstrike against Iran, and then right as that airstrike was about to happen, he called it off. That's Donald Trump's planning. Now, I'm happy he had called it off. It would have been a complete and utter disaster if that airstrike had gone through. But my point is, it's not like Donald Trump is some deep thinker who's sitting down and again, thinking about the consequences of his actions. How is this assassination going to lead to more harm to both civilians abroad and to US citizens abroad? And that includes troops, but also diplomats who happen to be working abroad.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.